Hello and welcome back to Refractions. I am Stephen Mallon, your host, and I am so happy that we have the executive director of Photo LA, Claudia James Bartlett, joining us. So, Claudia, hello and thank you.
Hi, thank you.
I read your bio. I don't know if everybody got a chance to read your bio. So, if you don't mind, can you tell us a little bit of your history with photography?
Oh, okay. Well, I actually started in the fine art world. My first job was with the 19th century European painting dealer. And I went to art school, actually, University of Washington, Seattle, which was mostly a painting school, but that's not what I took for printmaking and photography and film. And then moved back to LA and then worked for this dealer that dealt 19th century European paintings. Then I moved on from there. I worked for Larry Gagosian at his gallery over on Almont in the early 80s. And then from there, I worked for a smaller gallery called Art Space that a gal, Lucy Edelman, had for a number of years. And we showed younger emerging artists. And then I worked for Artform magazine. So I come from that world. My husband also, we had actually met at Larry Gagosian's, got married later, so I've been in that world, but attached to photography. Like Larry was very interested in photography in his early days. My husband can attest to that because he worked with him in the 70s and 80s, but definitely in the 70s. And I've always had an interest in photography. My father had a dark room. We had a dark room at home. So, fooled around a little bit there. And then I did a number of things in between. I had our daughter and studied practice interior design to be at home more with her. But then after that, my husband Peter had known Stephen Cohn, and he was looking for someone to help in his gallery as well as kind of rejuvenate Photo LA. So he said, Peter said, I think that you'd enjoy it. I think that you'd get along. So I went down, I talked to Stephen. He said, oh yeah, come and work for me. So I did that. And I managed his gallery first while I was doing Photo LA. And then we moved into a smaller quarters. There had been the downturn of the economy in like 08, and I got there in like late 2010. And so there were still things, that had been tapped down. So Stephen really adjusted, to the difference. He kept his staff on for a long time, but then we moved to a smaller space just down the street. And then I started helping direct the gallery as well, bringing in shows with younger photographers. A lot of people from Cal Arts and UCLA. And then ran Photo LA since 2011, I think. So it's been a long time. So I worked for Stephen, was partners with Stephen on Photo LA, and then bought him out in 2017. We didn't have a show in 2018. I kind of redid things, and then took the show to Barker Hangar in 2019 and 2020. So that's basically it.
That's the history.
Long story long, as you know.
So I've got so many questions about this. So you were working with Gagosian, with Larry at his like initial gallery before.
Not his initial gallery. His initial gallery was in Westwood.
Okay.
And Prince on Broxton. And my husband worked with him then. And then from there, then he was a private dealer for a while. And then he opened a gallery on Robertson. I'm sorry, on La Brea. And where Connie Llewellyn managed it. But I didn't come until 1982, I believe, 82, 83. And I worked with him there. During his time, showed everyone from Ellsworth Kelly, Jean-Michel Basquiat had his first show with Larry there. Wow. So I worked with Jean-Michel, and then Robert Mapplethorpe. But I basically, I was the gal at the front desk, but I helped manage some stuff. We had two preparators who were a little unwieldy and but were wonderful, and another gal too that was up at the desk. So and then from there I left, and then then I worked for Lucy Edelman. I kind of wanted, it's kind of like the high low
How so?
because he was dealing with higher end art, or blue chip art, plus some people who are coming, like Barbara Kruger had a show there, that kind of thing, while I was there. And then I went saw that end of things, and then I worked for Lucy Edelman, which was really showed emerging artists. So was also preparing, it was preparing a lot of people that they were just starting out. So there's a lot of education that goes with that. She was very good. We had one show after another. It was like every 6 weeks. So it was quite a bit. And I worked on outside sales for her and getting other shows like at like I took a show to Gensler and Gensler, architectural firm, large architectural here in LA, trying to perpetuate the sale of emerging artists, basically, because then it was very different in LA. I mean, now there are so many galleries, and all the big boys have like moved in, right? But then, I mean, when I worked for Larry, there were not that many galleries. You'd go to openings, you knew everyone. I mean, it was a very small, community. So yeah, things have changed.
For sure. And then, so Stephen Cohen was the initial founder of Photo LA. Is that right?
Yes, he started Photo LA. It was started as a tabletop show, mostly for classic photography. So that means that, there would be tables with bins on them and then photographs in them. And the dealer would stand behind it, and, people would flip through the bins, and people would buy things from the dealer. It then progressed into having, a few things on the wall. This was at Butterfield and Butterfields, which is now Bonham's, which is over on Sunset Boulevard still. An auction house, and then he took it from there. He was at the Civic, the Santa Monica Civic.
Okay.
And then he teamed up with someone who ran it for him. And they took it to Barker Hangar, but they also did a show. They did other shows. They did like Photo San Francisco, Photo, they did a number of different shows, and also did, I think it was called Art LA. They did like Tim Fleming, who was working with Stephen, then wanted to do an art fair. And so he started that art fair. And then the last show at the Civic, that's when I started with Stephen. And then Santa Monica Civic, Santa Monica shuttered it. They no longer have shows, so we had to figure out a new venue. So we moved downtown to the Reef, and we were there for a number of years until I brought it back to the Barker Hangar. We haven't had a show for the last 3.5 years because of COVID.
Sure.
I'm working now to bring it back in February, but it's not so easy because so many things have changed and the market has changed. So, which makes it difficult for the dealers.
Talk to us about it. What's changed, and what are the challenges that the dealers are facing?
Well, I think overall in the art market, there's, the high end will always bode well, because there are people with money who want to buy, but also they have the disposable income, but they also want to be assured that what they have maintains a certain level. So, within the market, things are done to make sure that happens, right? People, make sure, will you buy this? Oh, sure. Yeah. At auction, to maintain that price. With mid-tier galleries and with, younger galleries, it's just a harder slog, because you don't have, there's not as much money floating around, basically. And so what happens that just kind of helps to, lower kind of, what's going, you're just not getting as much going on, basically. And I think that photography was very hot for a long time. Within the photography realm, it was very hot, and it's cooled a bit in the last few years. People talk about all the different reasons why. We don't really, you never completely know why, but I'm sure it has something to do with the internet, Instagram, the proliferation of so many images that people then have to adjust, and I think that people got very excited about the possibilities, and then I think that cooled down. That's my take on it. And these things are cyclical. Right now it's about painting. So it'll be about painting, just like in the early 80s, it was about painting. So it'll just, it's cyclical. And so it'll all come back, but it's about staying in the game and keeping relevant and, all of that. Why I love photography is because, really culturally, it can factor in so many different ways. And that's really what I enjoy about it. I like fine art photography, but I also like historical photography and, uh, documentaries and, all of that, because I think that, journalistic photography, because it plays such a major role.
For sure. So what are some things you're doing to like entice the galleries, both the young and established, to like come to the fair? Like what's
Some
the
of it is
carrot?
the same old. Yeah, some of it is the same old, same old. I mean, we do programming, and within that, we have very good ties to the museums. The Getty's been very good to us. LACMA's been very good to us. And along with that, the curators, and people, people want to come and see and hear talk and meet them. And so I think that's a bit of an enticement, I think, for dealers, because oftentimes they want to know those curators. They also wanted, to be able to sell to them, but also, join in the conversation and find out what, what everyone's thinking. And I think that photo LA, the biggest thing it does, I think, is it brings that community together in LA in a way that I know I've never seen anything else. I mean, because we get 8,000 to 10,000 people through the gate over a long weekend. That's, that's a lot of people for a show like ours. Not for Freeze, not for, Basel, but, for a medium size or smaller fair.
Because the fair does seem like it's a little bit of like a hybrid model between like a photo festival and a fair, right? Because you've got the portfolio reviews, you've got the lectures, so there seems to be
We
a little bit
usually do
more
the
engagement.
portfolio reviews off, not during the fair. I've done
Oh,
them.
okay.
Yeah, because I mean, I do that because, quite frankly, that scares away dealers. And, we also have to have a rule that there are no portfolios brought in on, during the fair, because, the dealers are there to sell their, what they have. And they do want to meet, artists, photographers, but, they really don't have time to sit and look at a portfolio. And, there is some photographers who don't understand that. So, we've had to say, no, sorry. So we do run Focus Photo LA, which is a competition, and we charge $60. It's running right now. We charge $60 to upload 10 images. We have 3 judges that, judge typically there's, someone from a gallery, someone, a critic, different, curator, that kind of thing. So it's all done online. The photographer will upload their images, put in a bio, in a statement about the work they've done or are doing. And then it's judged and numerically. And then it's our back end, will then pick the top 20, and then it's judged again. And the top 20 images, not sets of images, but individual images.
Okay.
And then it's judged again. And then there's one winner who, it's $1,000. We used to fly them to come to LA, Photo LA, but it got very complicated. So we just do a cash prize. And then the works are printed by the Icon, which is a local printer here, very good printer. Are printed and then framed. It's all standard, standard like, 2x3. It's not, it's not a huge image, but and they're hung at Photo LA, or they're hung oftentimes we've had it off Photo LA where we've done it in a gallery. Like the portfolio review we did was at Gallery 12, which is over at Bergamont Station, and which gets a lot of traffic because there are many galleries there. So we did the portfolio review and we had the works hanging. Then during the times there wasn't the portfolio review, and people could come and look and see the work. And that way too, the work is seen by, it's created opportunities for those photographers over the years.
It's definitely an opportunity to get the work like in the fair or in a show that is happening while the fair is up. And I think that that's like one of those like, open calls or pop-ups that I think makes sense. Like I talk about this in a lecture where I am cautious about, artists signing up for every single open call that is put out there, because you need to make sure that the judges that are seeing the work, when and where and how the work is displayed, is going to get enough eyeballs and the right eyeballs, the return on investment, essentially, it's like it matters.
But $60. Yeah.
It's only $60.
Yeah.
It's not the $5,000.
Really, I mean, and honestly, we don't make a lot of, we really break even. It was done, we did it because so many photographers would say, well, we want to take a booth. And I'd have to say, sorry, we're not an artist show. We're not a photographer show. And so that was one way to get people included in some way. So, and to be seen. So, and also saying, oh, no, you can't bring your portfolios. I mean, the thing is a lot of the people that show up or that come, of course, they're coming to network as well, both for Photo LA and also when we do, pop-ups. So.
Can collectives or like non-for-profits apply?
Yes, they can.
Okay.
They can. Yeah. We have, over the years, there's a percentage I try to do, no more than, 5 to 8 booths that are not, that way, because you're trying to balance things. But yes, definitely. And opening night, I'm now on the board of Venice Arts, which is a nonprofit that it teaches kids, youth, photography and film. And they also do cartooning, which they, move into the film part of things. It's been around for 31 years, and they get kids into college. They get kids actually, like we've got internships at like NBC and places like that, Lynn, the founder, had tapped certain people in the industry, and it does a lot of good. It gets these kids into positions, into thinking about, into school, but also sometimes, jobs, actually.
That's great.
So yeah. So opening night, we benefit Venice Arts. I've done that for a number of years. So
very nice.
Yeah, and I'll put a plug in now too. We're having our gala. Most of you won't be able to come because you're on the East Coast, but like you can go online to venicearts.org and give.
we have an international audience out there. This is we're streaming from corner to corner.
Yeah, we have on Give Butter, which a lot of nonprofits do their. We have works up on Give Butter, both student work, but then also pro work. that we're auctioning. So just go to the website.
I'm sure they will. So what do you look for when the gallery is applying to be at the fair? Like what does the gallery need to have in
Well,
place?
I'm looking for a mix. Like the gallery, I mean, it's a certain level, but it's also interest. Like, um, and also like on some level, like, do I think they're going to be successful? Because, like no good deed goes unpunished. You could accept someone and then they may not sell. And that happens anyway, but I'm a staunch believer that I really know that even if that dealer hasn't sold, they've met people. They've done certain things will happen at some point. I mean, let alone just for advertising, a live ad,
Yep.
that it's worth it, because our booths are $6,000 for a 12 by 12.
It's not
And then
bad.
the 12 by 20 or 10. It's doable.
Yep.
It's doable. It's not crazy. I've kept the prices, low for that reason. So I'm looking for, something interesting, basically. Something that's, if you can hit work that, you get what the artist is saying, you're interested in it. They're saying something different that perhaps you haven't seen before. That, to me, those are the qualities that, make good art, basically.
If
So
if you find a gallery that is like appealing, would you get involved with like curating who or what they are showing, or is that hands off?
it's pretty hands off, because you also don't know, I don't, I mean, sometimes we'll say, oh no, you not that, not that. A lot of times that has to do though, that, nowadays, especially one dealer, two dealers will represent the same photographer, same artist. So, you have to tread on that. So generally it goes to the person who, represented them first, right? If you've got to. So you watch for that. Sometimes you don't even, you don't even bring it up, because I figure like the dealers, they can kind of fend for themselves, right?
They should be talking to each other if they both are showing, you know,
But we
Paula
know that
Stevens' work.
sometimes they don't, right? So I mean, I've had a couple of situations like that where one dealer says, oh, well, so-and-so can't be showing this because I'm showing it and I won't do the fair. And it's like, oh my God. So then, yeah, I mean, that has happened. But outside of like saying yay or nay, I mean, there are certain things where people cross the lines. I mean, and we kind of have to say, not so much, this. It is vetted, in other words. I mean,
Okay.
it's vetted, but it's vetted in, I don't even know how to describe it. I
Well,
mean,
it sounds like there's at least a filter, right? Like it's vetted but not curated. It's like you're seeing the work
yes.
before it goes up, but you're not saying what to submit or what to put up.
And we say, we save the right to, when something goes up, also to say, no, no, no,
Yeah, bad print.
it's in our contract.
Okay.
Because, you never know.
People will sneak in
Well,
everything
there's
and anything. The
something
banana and some duct
horribly
tape.
offensive that we just, that the brand does not want to be affiliated with.
Yep.
Although, you try to, again, tread lightly in that area, because, it's free speech.
Yeah. And it's art.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You may not like it. You may
But in
not think
this
it's going to
day and
sell.
age, in this day and age, you do have to be careful.
Sure. Are galleries bringing digital work? Are they putting up monitors, or is everybody bringing
Some
print?
do, some do. Some bring monitors, some, brings different screens, different, do different things. QR codes on the wall, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yep. Has the NFT push died out, or is that like has that been a question for any of the dealers, or
There are there are a couple of dealers who are interested in that. I don't know. We haven't had, because with 2020, there wasn't a lot of that going on. There was just the beginning, I think. There's a little bit, but nothing, nothing huge. I mean, I haven't, but it's been, 3.5 years. So we'll see what happened. It'll be 4 years by the time we have the fair. So.
And I saw that you're doing something with the Leica gallery, right? And a
Well,
sound installation?
well, it's with Paris Chong, who she manages the Leica gallery here in LA. And so part of the fair, again, this is about interest. I noticed, I'm sure as did others, that there is this interest in images and music paired in different ways and relating in different ways. So we will have some dealers that will do something along those lines, that'll be, a booth that, has music and art and music related in some way used. And then sometimes it's as kind of easy to digest as, rock and roll photography, but then there are other, there's a nonprofit that, is talking about doing a booth, and I think they will, that is about sound and images. And so that's a whole nother, and it relates to ecology and, that kind of thing. So I'm hoping that will, and I don't know, you guys might not know, but the Getty has a whole initiative called during Pacific Standard Time. And it's about art and science. So there will be some people who will have things related to that.
Nice. Not one of the last, but one show that has always stuck with me is that somebody had done, they did the 20 by 24 Polaroid portraits of these people, and the artist had found them through a dating site. And so it's the 20 by 24 portrait, and then there was a iPad with headphones, and it was the person reading their profile while you're seeing the portrait. And the, sometimes disconnect from the photograph to the audio and the description was just, it was so wild. And the one other time that I've seen it that was really so
Did a lot of
amazing.
people lie on their profiles?
The descriptions were might have be a little smudged.
Well, you got to have some fun, right? Yeah. So, we've, and then we do programming along with that. Usually we do 2 sets of programming. We do one on, the higher ideals of photography and art, like the photo LA programming. And then we have the focus photo LA programming, which is for practitioners, where we, might bring a lawyer in to talk about issues, surrounding, having, what you need to know, to get, to assure that, like trademark your work, or, do something along those lines. And then, and we do have open show. I don't know if you guys, it's all around the country. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but usually it's a nonprofit in different cities. And there's Open Show Los Angeles, where they then pick 3 or 4, maybe, I think 4 of the Focus Photo LA winners to present. And, they will do a presentation. And that's, usually one of the programs on the Focus Photo LA side. So, and, and we've had, like Anthony Hernandez being interviewed. He was honored in 2020. We honored him. And Virginia Heckert from the Getty, they did a talk together about his work and all of that. So, we do things like that, and then panels. about all kinds. You can go to the website and, see. I was going over at Weston Neff, who was the person who really started the Getty's photography collection and that department. He's been a good friend to Photo LA, and he would do a walkthrough, each at the beginning of the show on Thursday night prior to the opening. And he wanted to know someone's name. So I went back and through all the programming, and he had participated like every year in some way. And he was astounded. He said, boy, you did a lot of good programming. And, it was true, but I've had different people I've worked with who have done the programming. I'll garner a couple, 2 or 3, and then they'll put the rest of it together. So, yeah. So Brian English and, oh God, why am I forgetting his name? But I've worked with a number of different people with programming, and that and I really believe in that too, that you work with a lot of different people because you get different voices. And so, I'll go to a curator, at LACMA or the Getty and say, hey, would you like to do a program? And, a lot of times they're interested because they want to get the word out for a show or for something they're doing. And so you get that voice. It's not just, and you let them craft it. You don't you help them, but you don't mess with it too much. Is what I'm saying. Because most of the time they really do know what they're doing.
Most of the time.
Yeah. Well, I would say at that level they do.
Yeah.
But then, also, we've done things that are, relating more to, a specific, like we did a panel on skate photography, because
Cool.
that's a thing, a lot of skateboarders too, they end up being photographers. It's interesting. So we had a panel, on skate photography, different things like that. So it brings in different interests in different ways. And we've done historical, panels, in different ways. So
a lot of good stuff. So what are some of the challenges? Like, what if you were
the biggest
talking to me?
Yeah.
What's the
biggest challenge is getting dealers to do the show. That is the biggest challenge because they're spending money, they're nervous about it, and getting the right combination of people. It's hard because, 1 year, smart dealers will do it repetitively because they use it as, coming to see clients, a number of clients. But, younger galleries, oftentimes they just don't have the bandwidth to do it for whatever reason. So, and I think in these times, that's been more apparent. I would say, there were a couple of years. I mean, I think 2019 and 20 were, great. We worked hard, but, it wasn't that difficult. It's always difficult. You get a fair number, and then there's probably like, you need 10 more, right? Because it's very expensive to do a show. When we did Barker Hangar, it was over $500,000 to put that show on.
Wow.
Yeah. The walls alone are very expensive. The venue, the walls, paying people, right? You have staff,
security.
But also there's a lot of behind the scenes. I would have someone do exhibitor relations, not all year long, but a good part of the year. Someone who's doing VIP, again, not all year long, but, at least for 3 or 4 months.
Yep.
And so there are those costs, and social media. I mean, all of those. When Stephen started, he did it with one gal, and it was just the 2 of them, but it was a tabletop show. I mean,
Some
It's
folding
different.
tables and that rack, right? And here's your table. Here's a curtain, three chairs.
Or here are a couple chairs, like, go to it. This is, the people, the walls come in, starting on the shows on a Thursday, they come either Sunday or Monday, depending on the venue, to start setting up. And then the dealers come in on Wednesday, starting Wednesday morning, and they set up Wednesday into Thursday morning, and then you open Thursday night.
Yeah.
So it's, if you think about those walls, the lighting, the rigging above, the lighting, all of that, you have, you really, there's a lot that's involved.
Yep.
Then, you also have, you have the box office, you have, there's all this stuff that people just, you just everyone thinks, oh yeah, but it's a lot of moving parts, basically.
Is there a wall company you can go to? Like there's like because I see the trade show walls.
There's a number of them. So, yeah, and there's always a negotiation, because the price, that's probably maybe outside of paying people, that's the largest cost for me, at least.
More than the rent for of the space itself. Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. If you think about it, they have these walls, they store them, they have to truck them to you, they then have to install them. Then when the show's down, they have to break down, move them back to their storage. And those walls can be damaged, right? So, I mean, there's a cost to all of it.
I knew a dealer was showing at one of the fairs, and they were coming around and inspecting how many holes had been put in, because there was going to be a holing fee. Like if they had put too many pieces of art up, that they were going to get charged for, like.
No, what the dealer's supposed to do is they're supposed to take their screws out and then put a little tiny bit of spackle in each one.
Yeah.
And then the company will, but not so much spackle that there's a lot of work involved, right? Because the walls get painted again. So, and some wall companies, it's just take the screws out. Any screws left in, you get charged.
And that makes sense, because if that thing catches on another wall, it can just shred. If you're stacking these things, or like,
yeah, they have to be stacked or else they warp. That's the other thing. When they're stored, they're stacked on one on top of each other, because they'll warp. So yeah. And I don't know the life of the wall. I don't know that, but I suspect there is, not. And I think, a lot of the companies are based in Florida. And now, I don't know if it used to be that way. I mean, we dealt with someone who was in Denver at one point, but a lot of the wall people are based in Florida. I think that it probably has to do with taxes, but it has to also do with Art Basel. That there are so many shows there.
Oh.
That they have the walls there.
Now I want to know if your walls are more expensive than the walls in Florida or Florida adjacent. I would assume that they have warehouses.
It's the same people. It's the same people. Sometimes they try to charge you for shipping charge, but a lot of times it's bogus, because, now too, there's freeze here, right?
Okay.
So there are walls here,
Freeze walls.
And other walls. I mean, there's the LA Art Show. So, there are walls around. It's just, in the past, like 2019, 2020, we used the people that do freezes walls, because that's the other thing. A lot of there were a couple of, dealers, well-known dealers, that were going like, were very particular about what the walls and what the lighting was like. And they're right. Right. So
have you ever had like bad walls, like they showed up and they were just like kind of like
No,
last
no,
leg?
no. Well, we were down at the Reef. Those walls, I mean, they were there. You know, they were housed at the venue,
Hmm.
and the ceilings were not as high. So the walls were, you know, at Barker, we had 12-foot walls.
Nice.
The venue this time, I'm going to have 10-foot walls.
It's
But
still
I
good.
think it's fine, but like, you know, 12 is like nirvana, right? It's, but we can't because we don't have the ceiling for it. You know, it's a very large space. It's 20,000 square feet, but but the height of the ceiling is not the same as the Barker. The Barker is like huge. It's an
Okay.
you know, it was for airplanes. It was a hangar. This is not a hangar. This is a beautiful building along the lines of a hangar looking building, but it's not.
Not a hanger.
Not a
Hanger-esque.
yes, yes. If that can be said. But anyway, so that's that. And that's you know, we also, you know, I've also had schools. I don't know if this year, if I'm waiting to see, we invite schools and we give them a smaller wall or something, because Los Angeles has some of the best art schools in the world. You know, you've got Cal Arts, you have UCLA, you have Art Center, you have Otis, you know, you have a lot of really great schools. So we would ask the, you know, you know, the head of the whatever art department and Santa Monica City College, you know, there are a lot of, you know, fine photography schools or art schools that have photography within them. And so then whoever was running the program then would ask a group, you know, of those students to show work.
Yep.
We would have them, because Barker was 30,000 square feet. We had a very large space, so we could do that. And we could like section them off, you know, section them in a certain area. And when we were at the down at the Reef, we actually had a section where we had the schools, and then we had like you know, different entities like Sammy's Camera. They paid for their booth. There, you know, there were sponsors, but they were relegated in that area with the student work. But it was interesting because there was a lot of energy over on that side. And it works also because a lot of the students have their parents come. And you know, those parents, you know, if they're paying a high tuition, they can sometimes well afford buying a work. So that helps. And it helps create you know, younger people coming to the fair and participating, but also being aware of it in a way that, you know, nothing else really does. So, because the students will have their friends will come, they're buying tickets. You know, we can recoup some of the money for those walls that way, basically, to justify it. And that's, you know, that's the thing. I mean, I don't make a great deal of money from this, you know, I make somewhat of a wage, you know, and I really try hard to pay the people that work for us, you know, what they should be paid. But you know, it's expensive. It's just expensive.
So is this a little bit of a passion project for you?
It is. I mean, I've not totally. I mean, you know, because you know, there's the part of it that you have to be professional and you have to, yeah. It's so. I mean, I pay myself a salary, but it's not like a huge salary. I mean, you know, people with Stephen, they used to say, the dealers would say, "Oh my God, you must have millions stashed away." And he'd always laugh. He'd kind of go, "No, really? No."
If only.
So
What do you see? What do you want, and what do you see as the future for the fair?
that it's, you know, I am trying to hone in on that more. It's hard right now. I mean, like, just like I think anyone you talk to, if they're being honest with you, things have changed so much from COVID that you're having to realign. I mean, I have many ideas of what I should be doing, but also it's about the money. We did do an online fair, which was success for those dealers because, they weren't paying that much to do it. And we do have a really good audience that, that really helps. Online, live, but also online. So I've been maintaining that and adding to it. The gal who, she's not going to be doing VIP relations this time, but she through, last year, she was adding names of collectors to our list. So that, that always helps. You're always, keeping your eye out to add a name with an email of someone, when we send out a newsletter, we do social media, all those things. So, you try to do that. So I think that along with focusing on, we've got this new venue. So, and I'll be helping the fellow who owns it with doing, he's turning it into an event space. Like I said, with real estate the way it is, this would be very smart for you to do. So, and it's a beautiful space and it's got parking there, but also nearby, which in LA, that's a thing. That's a huge thing. So, because people still think that they should be able to pull up in their car and park it like, in a flat parking lot, not even garages sometimes.
They don't even want to have to deal with the ramp. They want to just be able to pull in ground level.
Yeah, I mean,
park.
That's kind of becoming non-existent, but like, I'm a native. That is a thing. That is, if you're of a certain age, you still kind of believe that, And I think that a lot of people who collect photography, there is a new generation, but there's a lot of older generation. So then you need to cater to them. So so I'm looking towards the space. Reconfiguring Photo LA this time around will not have as many booths. There's not the space for it. We're actually using another space to do the programming. So that's a little different too. I mean, it's literally 20 feet away, but it's in another building. So on this campus. So I see that, but I also, I would like to, we did the portfolio reviews. I'd like to, do that again. I just don't right now, don't have the bandwidth to do that all in one. We're running focus like we always have. And it's not getting back to normal. It is about changing it up. So I'm looking at, we're redoing the website, we're tweaking the website, and I'm looking towards making the website also, if a paid subscription for dealers who want to put their shows up, that kind of thing.
Online for the
year round.
Yep.
But I haven't, and then also there's a writer out here. I've been in discussions with her. We haven't done it yet. It hasn't happened yet, but every month have, a couple of writers write about something either here or elsewhere too. Because, from my time at our firm, I know a few writers in different parts of the country and, the world. And so perhaps we could, do that as well, which I think is interesting. And that, I think we have a lot of eyes on our website, I know. And so that for them, it helps them, but then it also helps us as well. So
for sure.
So, that's one of the things, but it all costs money, right?
Yeah.
So, and we're really, we're an event, a live event. So, it's always that balance between, who are you really? Like, and how do you need to move along? But, where are your efforts best spent,
Mhm.
basically? So we'll see. But things have changed. What do you hear?
I the shift has been, a lot of people are looking for the unique object. Like you were saying about the
Yeah. Oh,
photographic
in
process
photography. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
photo, the fact that, Photo Fair New York only survived 1 year, was not great. It was not a good sign that they, for whatever reasons, the galleries didn't come back. And New York's already got APAD. We have a photo fair, but I was kind of surprised that New York could not sustain two photo fairs a year. Like I feel
Yeah,
like there
but
is enough
but you
photography.
have to know APAD really has the lock. They have the lock on it. And they've let in younger galleries, and at some points even I believe, and I may be corrected, but people that aren't in APAT that then become part of APAT after they do the show, or when they're accepted. I'm not sure how, I'm not privy to that. But I think that's the major reason why, because it's been around a long time, APAT.
Yeah.
And
And,
it's
and
a
maybe,
dealer association. And the dealers can say this or that or this, and they talk amongst themselves, and then, it is what it is.
yeah. So why hurt our fair? Let's just wait for our normal crowd. And
Yeah, and the Photo Fairs New York was an outsider. I think that there are certain fairs that outsiders, it's fine, it works. And then others that it doesn't. You need to know, like for LA, fair is here. I mean, Freeze is here, but that's because they're so huge, they can afford to lose money. They can afford, they're doing other things, right?
yeah.
I don't know how much, I mean, also they're charging so much for, they're charging a pretty penny for their booths, but they keep on building reconfiguring and building out this tent. I mean, which, I mean,
It's a big tent.
that's gotta be very expensive, right? Let
Yeah.
alone everything else they do, but they're a corporation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Photo Fairs New York, that was the fellow who does Shanghai Photo Shanghai, right?
Yep. Yep. And it's
So
connected to Sony. It was the Sony. He's the CEO through Sony's like photo competitions as well. Um, but it wasn't totally clear where. But yeah, just getting back to I just didn't like seeing it not survive. But
no,
maybe that was, like you said, like it was just the
no. I
APAD.
mean, I'm just being a total realist. I'm not, I think, some competition is good. I mean, for everything, but it's also very expensive to put on a fair. So, and especially in New York, right?
Yeah.
Because, um,
Especially in the Javits Center because it's a union building. So
yeah, you see, my bill, it's non-union,
yeah, that helps.
a
It
lot.
probably cut your cost in half.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
truly, truly. So because I know when Perry Photo came to LA and was at Paramount, it was all union. I mean, there's a reason why, and they lost a lot of money, Perry
Oh yeah.
Photo, by doing that fair. But again, that's a huge conglomerate. I mean, they have other businesses like, uh, like they do other fairs like tractor fairs, and it's not just art. Yeah,
I
it's
didn't really? I didn't know that.
Reed Enterprises is a huge conglomerate. They also have a drug company that, I mean, yeah. And Perry Photo, I mean, the French government helps in a certain way. In the US, you don't have that.
No.
You are out on your own. There's not, there's not a city or a state or whatever that's going to help you at all.
especially not for the art organization. You may, yeah, at long term there might be some relationships. Like I think that
Oh, yeah.
the Armory has got that now in New York, now that they've been around for so long and they've got the relationships with the real estate and they own their own buildings. It's like under
Yeah.
the umbrella that they're paying themselves internally. Like good for you. It's like if you're a multi-billionaire,
You're
corporation,
fine.
you own the pier that you're in and you're renting it to yourself, and then it's power to you.
That's a whole
We
different, metric. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I think that that's, you know, in trying to bring down the cost of photo LA, that's like working with someone who owns a building. That makes sense. And they're motivated for other reasons. So it's a good partnership,
Awesome.
I mean, I'm still paying him something, but it's not, it's some of it is sweat equity, basically.
Yeah, they're invested. They're invested in wanting to succeed versus just having the show or the pop up.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, we are almost out of talent. It's like
Oh,
1:55. We're
I
just
hope we haven't bored all your people with all this show
I
talk.
not at all. It's been great, but just in the last couple of minutes, is there anything else that you would like to share before we get booted?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think we've talked about, everything. I hope people will go to the website. Right now, there's not a lot up. It will be up probably the end of November, beginning of December. More information about the fair, which is in February. The second weekend, it's like Valentine's Day weekend.
I'll see if I can convince my wife.
Yeah, exactly. Come on out.
That'd be fun.
So, we're still in the process of getting things together and all that, and we'll be up, it will be up late November, beginning December, when I mean, part of this also has to do with, everyone is looking towards the election. It's hard to get people's attention.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of okay. Well, no, it's like, time's up. Come back, focus.
No pun intended. Well, Claudia, thank you so much. This has been really insightful. I've definitely,
Thank you so much. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And hope everyone enjoys it. How many people do you generally get on this?
It's around 100 seem to be listening in, and then it will, because of the fact that it's recorded and lives online,
Yeah.
it picks up more and more. Like I think the most popular one so far is Mark Peterson's, and he's had over 500 views.
Oh, that's
So
great. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, thank you everybody for listening in. And Claudia, thank you so much for sharing everything that you did. This has been really insightful, and just I love the
Thank you.
conversation.
And if anyone who's a photographer who's listening that wants to do focus, it's at focusphotola.com. So it's
I'm sure you'll get a couple of submissions. All right,
Good
Claudia.
luck to you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. I'll see you later.